Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar in the series of CI/CD on Kubernetes. This webinar series consists of 4 webinars, out of which we have done 2 already. In today's webinar, we are going to cover Service Mesh and Spinnaker. In the last webinar, we'll look at some of the tool sets for CI/CD on Kubernetes. In the last 2 webinars, we covered cloud native technologies and the CNCF Foundation. We also talked about how we can deploy cloud native in practice. We talked about Kubernetes and then its package manager Helm. We also covered Jenkins X, which is built from bottom up to do CI/CD on Kubernetes. As we know, to deploy the application on Kubernetes, we use different objects like deployment, services, and so on, which would deploy our application. And generally, we assume that those application or services would be available to them in one single hop. That's what other, our other, that's what our assumption is. So, for example, here are 2 services which you want to communicate, and we assume that they can talk to each other without any issue. But in practice, there can be multiple hops between 2 services. These services, first of all, can be in the same Kubernetes cluster, or they can be anywhere. For example, they can be in different geos and so on. So, to reach to one service to another, we need to go through multiple hops, different networks, and so on. When we go to microservices, the count of these services increases. And with that, we get new challenges. For example, how we can do retries, timeout, how we can do circuit breaking, using which if something fails, we should not cascade the failure to other services, how we can do rate limiting, health checking, and so on. So with microservices, these challenges become more prominent. It's not that microservices is very new. It has been there for some time, and Netflix OSS is a good example of that. So with that particular pattern, we have built few tools earlier. Like for example, we have Netflix Hystrix, which can do circuit breaking and so on. But these tools were built specifically for Java language. So what happens is the application developer would include those tools inside the application, and then we kind of implement the feature which we are looking there. But being but by doing so, we are limiting ourselves to just one language or the one application. How about when we go to multiple applications or the application which are built on different programming languages? For example, we can say we can have the payment services on using the Go language while the front end can be on Java. So the example what we have seen earlier or the tools what we have would not be valid now because now we have different languages. How we can solve that problem? So for that purpose, we have now coming up with a single binary which can do all the things, and it can sit outside of the primary application, and it can connect to different environments. For example, we can connect between VMs, containers, and so on. So what we are saying here is whatever the features we are looking here, like rate limiting, retries, circuit breaking, we're going to implement them using a proxy which sits in front of the primary application. And without changing the application code, our communication can route through that proxy and we get all the features we are looking there. As this proxy sits outside, it would not be bound to any specific application of the language. There are different ways by which we can build this proxy. One such example is Envoy proxy, which can sit between our service and the external world and route the traffic. So with Envoy, We get features like L3, L4 network filters, HTTP2 support, GRP supports, um, and we can also get the metrics, the stats, and so on with that NY proxy. Now, what we talked about so far is we are deploying one such proxy for one service. So, if we have 10 of these services, we can deploy 10 proxies, one in front of each service. And once we do that, we make a service mesh, which gives us the features like resiliency, security, observability, routing control, and so on. We're going to we look at the demo of some of them as we kind of proceed in this demo or in this webinar. The example of service mesh are Linkerd, Conduit, Istio, and so on. And each of these service mesh has primarily two components, a data plane and a control plane. Data plane is the component through which all the traffic routes, and we implement policies and telemetry using that. With the control plane, we control how the traffic should flow within the proxies in the outside world. For example, we can say if a service A talks to service B, we're going to ingest 10 millisecond of latency. Those kind of things can be done with the control plane. Here is an example of Istio in which we have Pilot, Mixer, and Citadel as the control plane, while we have two services and we have a proxy attached to them. The Pilot component here is going to control or it's going to configure the proxy, how they're going to behave. For example, if I say when service A talks to service B, we're going to put some latency in place and so on. With Mixer, we're going to do the policy checks and the telemetry. And with another component, Citadel, we are going to implement security. For example, we can say whenever the communication between two services happens, it would be using the TLS and so on. Being said that, let us now look at a demo of that. In the earlier examples or earlier webinars as well, we have used this application, which is a simple RSVP app application, in which we have a front end, which is implemented in Python language, and we have a MongoDB database through which to which the front end connects. So what I have done already here, I have a Kubernetes cluster in which I have two namespaces. One is called production namespace, another is production beta namespace. I've already configured an Istio gateway using which we are going to route the traffic between two front ends running into different namespaces. Take a look at the demo now. So here we have the gateway configuration in which we are configuring the ingress. So using the ingress, our external world can communicate to our services. So we are saying here, whenever any traffic comes to the ingress, just forward to all the services which are beneath it. Let's now look at one of the rules which we have implemented for our um, service mesh configuration. Let's look at this rule here, in which we are saying is whenever the request is going to come um, for the webinar gateway, we are going to forward that request to two services here, which is webinar beta production, and we'll send 80% data there, sorry, 80% weightage there. So, and 20% we'll send to the production environment. So what we are saying is if 10 requests come to our Istio gateway, out of which we are going to send 8 of those requests to the beta production, while 8 or while 2 would go to the production service. So I have already put this particular rule in place. And if I go and look at that application, so here on the screen we are can see that we are hitting the STU gateway. And as I refresh the page, please pay attention to the text here, which would be which currently is beta prod. We'll see here webinar hyphen production and so on. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. And as you can see, as we kind of refresh the page, most of the requests are going to the beta production, while some of them are going to production. Now, if we go and change a different rule here, we can say here, now all of the requests will go to the production environment, as we have set the weightage to 100%, while the weightage for our production beta is 0 now. So let me go ahead and apply this rule here. As we apply this rule, all of our traffic from the gateway would go to the production service. And now if we refresh the page, we would only see the production application. Hopefully this makes sense. With the Spinnaker, we're going to see how we can build a pipeline using which we could deploy these applications to different environments. With this too, we can do traffic management, security, policy and telemetry, and we can look at performance and scalability as well. Let's now move to Spinnaker, which is an open source multi-cloud continuous delivery platform. Spinnaker has different features. For example, it can integrate with different CI tools like Jenkins. You might be wondering why Jenkins here. Spinnaker is a tool for doing the continuous delivery, but to run the test cases, we could still use tools like Jenkins, Travis CI. It has different deployment strategies like Highlander, Red Black. We'll cover them in this webinar later point of time. It has role-based access control, monitoring integrations, notifications, and so on. So Spinnaker is a very powerful tool for doing the continuous delivery. In our environment, I have already deployed Spinnaker. So what we have here is we have a Kubernetes cluster, which is built on Minikube, and we have deployed Spinnaker on top of that. And as we can see, Spinnaker is running the default namespace. We also have different namespaces for staging, production, and production beta, which we're going to use as we kind of go further in this webinar. By default, Spinnaker's UI is not exposed to the external world. What we could do here is we could do a port forwarding from our local system to the Spinnaker UI. For example, here I'm getting the pod details for our Spinnaker UI, and now with the expose with the port forward, I'm going to connect my local system, my local laptop, to that pod which runs the UI with the port forward command. So as I run this command, a tunnel has been created between my laptop and the Spinnaker UI. Now if I go and refresh my page here for localhost, let me just click on this one. As you can see, now we can access the Spinnaker UI from the localhost. We have one application running called Webinar. There seems to be some timeout. Let me just do a port forward again. Yep. So we are in there. So we'll talk about pipelines in a minute, but because I showed you that Istio demo, let me just complete this pipeline and I'll come back to it again. Hit continue here, and one more time. I'll kind of come back to these things again, so don't worry. So let's go back to the slides again. Now, Spinnaker has an application management, or Spinnaker has a specific way to manage the application. Like for example, it has different building blocks called like application cluster, server group, load balancer, and firewall. We can map them with our Kubernetes objects, which we are very comfortable with. So, for example, we refer the application as a microservices. For example, if we have a backend and front end, we would call them an application. For example, in our case, the RSVP app is an application in which we are going to deploy a backend and front end. Our server groups would be the pods of the deployment, which we do for backend and front end. And a cluster is a component which kind of logically groups those server groups. So let me tell you what I meant by that using the UI. So here we have the pipeline, which I'll cover. But for example, if I go to configure a pipeline, and if I look at deploy to staging, so here I'm trying to deploy my backend, which is webinar MongoDB staging, and the front end webinar staging. We refer each one of them as cluster group or as cluster. And if we go ahead and look at edit here, in this we're going to do a deployment. So here we are going to configure how we're going to make the pods for our backend or in the front end in this case, right? So here we are saying that we're going to use one of the front end image, which would deploy the front end application for us. And if you look at here, we talked about load balancer. So load balancer is nothing but services in terms of Kubernetes. So what we do is we configure load balancer or the services for each one of our component. For example, we create a service for the backend and the front end, which we are going to refer inside inside our configuration. So hopefully this makes sense. Let's keep going forward. A Spinnaker pipeline is a collection of stages, and each stage refers a specific action. So for example, if I say I want to build an image for my source code, that would be referred at a stage, and we kind of have these multiple stages, and from that we create a pipeline. So what I showed you earlier on the UI as well, it is a pipeline which we do for our staging in the production environment. So when I hit configure, we see a similar uh, flow in which we have different stages, and we'll kind of go through each stages one by one. Spinnaker has different deployment strategies. For example, we can have a red black or the blue green, in which we have a load balancer or the service, which first points to the blue service, and as we are done with our new deployment, we'll kind of move completely from blue to green. The next thing what we can have is rolling red black, in which we can say we are going to move from blue to green in a phased manner. So I'm going to, for example, here I'm going to bring down two of my uh, pods down for my the blue application, and I'll bring up two new for my green one, and so on. I can do further canary release, in which I could do an analysis before doing a red black. So for example, here we have load balancer which points to the blue and the green. Now what I could do when I move my certain pods to the newer green release, I'm going to do an analysis there. For example, I could watch on my latency, and if I'm comfortable with my latency, what I'm getting, I'm going to then uh, move all of my services from blue to green. Talked about uh, our application already. Let's now look at the pipeline, how it is being built. So let me go back to the UI of web of our Spinnaker and look at the staging pipeline here. Will it configure here? And what we're doing here is in the configuration phase, we have an automated trigger. So what we're doing in this automated trigger is we are kind of telling CI or our Jenkins CI to do some stuff. And once that particular CI job is over, our Spinnaker would do the CD job after that. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's just look at first of all our Jenkins environment. Similar to the Spinnaker UI, we need to do a port forwarding for our Jenkins, which I'm doing right now. Once I do that, I can now access my Jenkins UI. And this is the Jenkins UI, which you might be already comfortable with. And here we have the source code repository, in which we have two different branches, dev and the master. So I'll go to dev branch for now, and we have a respective uh, pipeline built for, or the Jenkins job built for dev and the master branch there. I already configured my credential for Docker Hub and other stuff within Jenkins so that I could push an image to my Docker Hub account and so on. I'll not go into detail there, but it would be available in the documentation what we're going to publish. So if I go to documentation, the webinar 3 would contains all of the steps which we are doing here. Now we are in the dev branch and we are going to make some changes here in the source code. So let's go and go to the template directory there. We'll go to profile.html. And here we're going to make some changes now. So let's click on edit here. And for example, if we kind of say enter, if you kind of update enter your name to just enter name, similarly placeholder to enter name, and similarly for the email IDs, email address, right? And then let's hit the commit. Now our commit would have happened on the GitHub. Now this particular change would be taken by the Jenkins job here. So we might need to wait for a few seconds until Jenkins picks up that change. And once that change get picked up, our CI job would run, which would create a Docker image and push it to the Docker Hub. Let's just wait for a few seconds until our jobs picks up. So change has been done there. Yeah, as we can see now, our new build has been triggered. Which is going to run the CI job. And then it's going to push the image to Docker Hub. Now in our pipeline, what we have done here is we are looking for that change. So in our pipeline step, go to configure again. Once that particular jobs get over, the next stage, deploy to staging, would be triggered, which would deploy the application in the staging environment. By the staging environment, we mean the staging namespace in our Kubernetes cluster. If I look at cat pods in the staging environment, as we can see, these new pods have came recently. Now if I go to my pipeline, and we can see that our staging pipeline is now running. Next, we have a manual step here in which we're going to make a manual configuration or manual change. For example, if you click on this, it says that can you check the application on a specific URL which I have given here in a hard-coded way, but you would update accordingly. And as we can see, our changes are reflecting as expected. We have uh, the fields here enter name, and the placeholder also enter name, and similarly for email address. So our application looks fine in the staging environment. So let's go back here and continue with our manual step here. This looks fine. Now we have a second manual step in which we are saying, should we deploy the staging? Yes, because when the staging is over and we are fine, we don't want to keep it. Let's continue here. And this would go ahead and deploy our pod in the staging environment. Sorry, it would destroy the pods in the staging environment. So let's just keep an eye here, and we'll see that these pods would get destroyed. So now our staging part is over. We can now go back and send a pull request from the dev branch to the master branch. So let's do that. So I'm going to say create new pull request. And then you're going to say pick up the dev branch and send it to the master branch. So create pull request. Let us now merge it. So now what's going to happen is our changes from the dev branch are going to merge to the master branch. And once that merge happens, our Jenkins job for the master branch is going to pick up the change. And we'll see that a new build would get triggered here. So just wait for a few seconds and we should see our new build happening. Yeah, so as we can see, the new build is coming here, which is again going to build a new Docker image and push it to our Docker Hub account, which we would use further for our deploying the application. Right, so let's just wait for that particular job to get over. And once that happens, our production pipeline is going to get triggered, in which we're going to first doing the deployment in the production beta namespace. So if you look at our production beta namespace, which just got a new pod created. Now, just to kind of reiterate the point, our database is running only in the production environment. Here we're just deploying the front end. Right, so let's just go and look at our pipeline here. And as we can see, it is running in which has deployed that particular pod which we have seen. Now the next step in this pipeline, what we are saying is we should now shift the traffic using the Istio to the production beta also, because if I look at my current production, all of my load or the request would go only to the production environment. It's not going to the beta production. So once that particular the stage comes here, we are going to run the kubectl command to kind of implement our Istio rule, which we have already seen. This one, in which we are going to say 80% load now should go to the production beta. So let's go ahead and apply that particular rule. Once we apply the rule and If I go and check the application, we already have the URL there. So this is the step we have done already. Let's hit continue here. And now if I go and look at this one, you would see that some of my load would go to the beta production also, and some of the load is going to the production, right? So yeah, so let's look at the production stage here. And here, as you would see that we are doing the strategy called Highlander. So what does that mean? So it means that it is going to destroy all the previous server groups or the pods what we have deployed. So if you kind of go and look at our kubectl get pods in the production environment, we're going to see that uh, our older pods are getting now deployed, or sorry, the older pods which is for our front end is getting destroyed, terminating, while the new pods are coming for our the newer version of the application. So this is the Highlander strategy, in which we completely destroy the earlier deployed pods, and then we bring up the new pods there. And once the new pod comes up, they become healthy. That's when we kind of go and destroy the previous ones. That's what's happening right now in our pipeline. And once we are comfortable saying that, okay, now we know that, okay, what we see in the application, now our production and the beta production have the same data. As you can see now in the production also, we see this enter name here instead of enter your name, which was coming earlier. So our beta production and production now look same. And we are now comfortable in moving the full traffic to the production environment. So we'll now go and apply the production 100% load here. Here we are saying the weightage to be 100% for the production environment. So let's just go ahead and put that particular stage here. Let's maybe just wait until we get that manual step here. But this what's going to happen is once that we're comfortable with that, our production and the beta production are together, or kind of say are in the same state, we kind of go and apply that rule. Once we have done that, if I kind of go and look at our application, refresh it again, we would only see the production uh, application here now. So in our pipeline, the next step is, okay, we are good to go, continue here, and then we'll say destroy the production beta environment because we don't need them right now. And this would clear up our production beta environment, which would not have any more pods once this particular stage gets over. So we've already seen these particular stages of the pipeline, and we covered this thing earlier and now as well. There are a few references which I would like to highlight for this particular webinar. Thank you very much for joining this webinar.